Why do music critics hate Slowdive? First off, I wholeheartedly disagree 100% with Anthony Fantano. His 6 out of 10, in my opinion, while valid and subjective, discounts much of the purpose behind shoegaze, and I'll explain in a moment. In today's video, I'm going to share my copy on Everything Is Alive, which is the Dead Ocean's exclusive pressing with a bonus signed print by the band. I'll explain why Anthony Fantano is wrong. Wrong, damn it! And I will wrap up by sharing 3 albums from my collection that you might dig if you like Everything Is Alive. Hey, fellow music nerds, it is Andy from the FENSEPOST Vinyl channel. If you like this sort of content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, then ring that little bell so you'll be notified of new videos when they go live. Before I jump into why Anthony Fantano is wrong, let's take a look at the album I waited a few extra months to get my hands on. I'm quite enjoying this maze-like, mostly symmetrical design on the cover art here. It's interesting, it's unique. I love the diamond pattern, which reminds me of these vintage Argyle sweaters I'd wear in high school during the 90s. Such a nerd. The strange figure on the cover is nondescript. I can't tell if they're good or bad, an angel or demon. The back is simple. It's just the track list, and you got the Dead Ocean's logo down there and barcode in the center on the bottom. There really are no inserts aside from the optional signed print you get for an extra $1, which I'll show you in a second. It is a gatefold, and the inside is just credits and kind of an imprint of the pattern. The inside is kind of black, which is interesting and unique, and I kind of like it. Here's the signed print, which is just really cool. It's really just the album art. You've got Slowdive, Everything Is Alive, and the signatures, Christian, Rachel, Nick, Simon, Neil. And the vinyl itself is on this gold opaque wax, which means you really can't see through it. I think it looks great, and the color fits well with the off-white or yellowish cover and the subsequent black screen print style printing on it. The labels here match the cover, and overall the physical packaging along with the vinyl just looks great. I can't wait to give it a listen on vinyl. I've been listening to it digitally, so we're going to talk about that next. Okay, it's time to address the elephant in the room, Fantano's review. Shoegaze to me has always been about getting lost. Lost in the sonic, atmospheric wall of guitars, lost in the monumental noise, or sometimes lack of it. It's about a sound that is so all-encompassing that it transports you from wherever you are, entrenched in the past, standing right here in the present, or projected out into the future. It takes you out of all of this, out of your head, out of your reality, out of this reality, and it puts you into this kind of place of hypnosis. And with opener Shanty, you get precisely that. It's dynamic, it's interesting, it's aurally expansive to the point it overwhelms all of your other senses. Sure, it's not the shoegaze of old, and to that point, this is not the Slowdive of old, but this is undoubtedly shoegaze at its finest, though dissociated a bit from its roots, and, as you'd expect, progressed out about 30 years. To be clear, I love early Slowdive, but I don't want them just to crank out another repeat of the past. They didn't do it with their 2017 return Slowdive, which Fantano also hated, and I wouldn't expect it from their follow-up album 6 years later. Everything Is Alive then kicks into gear with what ultimately became my early favorite on the album. In a similar vein is B-side opener Kisses, which pulls more similarities to fellow shoegazers' Ride than the familiar sounds of earlier Slowdive. It's undeniably catchy, or you can draw some parallels to the catchier side of their self-titled 4th LP with the songs Star Roving and Sugar for the Pill. Shoegaze to me is also about the dualistic peaks and valleys. It's about thinking different about noise, and that includes its subtleties. The shoegaze subgenre greatly influenced the birth of dream pop, and I think Slowdive has always kind of flirted with many of those traits, more so than many of their other contemporaries, and probably to their discredit insofar as music critics are concerned. Dig into the second track on the album, Prayer Remembered. to hear more of this. No, nowhere near the early Slowdive work, but maybe most likened to, say, what you could hear on Pygmalion from about 1995. Alive picks up again with a nice driving beat, but lacks the full-on noise of the opener while dosing us with a dreamy melody and catchy beat. Andalusia plays, again steps back to the soft and subtle. It's slow, it's dreamy, it's ethereal. Of the slower tracks, Skin in the Game is the closest you'll find to the signature shoegaze elements. I love that guitar sound. Not quite drenched in reverb, not overly fuzzy, but still filled with something different. Something we heard on opener Shanty. The song goes back and forth between that and the dreamier and more melodic sounds heard elsewhere on Everything Is Alive. Donning headphones is a true must. That or cranking up the volume to get the full effect of how expertly this album has been mastered in stereo to create that beloved swirling effect that is just so critical to shoegaze, and the great side of it at that. Chained to a Cloud begins with a repetitive melody before percussion drops a cool beat. In the background, there's this shimmering sound that adds to the dreamy nature of the track before Rachel Goswell's vocals slip in subtly. The album concludes with the driving beat of The Stab, backed with perhaps the most traditional shoegaze track heard on the album since the opener, and I love this. The percussion carries the beat with excessive consistency, while the guitars and brass flirt with a few different melodies which swirl and morph throughout the song. The vocals, too, are not entirely distinct, adding more musical effect than lyrical. Throughout Everything Is Alive, this album is great, and it's a far cry from the mediocre lambasting that Fantano and so many other music critics give the band. To me, his review seemed rushed and lacking of consideration, of true consideration. Slowdive has never been a sugary pill to swallow. And that has left with many music critics throughout their history with a bit of an upset stomach and maybe some explosive diarrhea of the mouth. This is a trend that dates back to the earliest days of the band, and it's something I touched on when I highlighted the Slowdive bootleg in my collection, Hide Your Eyes. And frankly, I'm tired of it. Slowdive has been lambasted by critics for well over 30 years, and it needs to stop. So give this album several listens across several weeks before you decide to judge. If you're a critic and you're at first disappointed, you owe it that much. All right, now for the trend. Here are 3 albums from my collection I think you should check out if you, like me, kind of enjoy this album. First up is Running Out of Love by the Radio Department. I chose Running Out of Love, the 2016 LP by the Radio Department, due to its deeper dive into shoegaze, dream pop, and even dance pop. The Swedish band has been around for over 20 years now, and I've been a big fan for most of it. You can also check out the more subtle Pet Grief from 2006. From the original shoegaze era comes Split by Lush, which I think found the band creating some slightly dreamier music than their album Spooky, which I covered here recently. The band has fresh reissues out this year, so you can get both of these albums on wax at a truly decent price. The link is in the description. Finally, quite a bit heavier in terms of the noise their guitars produce, but with a charming dreaminess in the harmonic vocals, I can't help but toss this 2016 LP up by nothing. I can't believe it took me so long to fully give this album a listen, and I've been obsessed with it this year, all year, since getting it on vinyl. There you have it. Everything Is Alive by Slowdive, finally in my collection. Next, check out this video right here where I go into the history of the long-lost pre-Souvlaki album by Slowdive that never was. I am Andy, this is the FENSEPOST Vinyl channel, and I'll see you in the next video.